And I have received apologies from Tim Bull as well. Steve, have you had those?
I have. Are we starting now, Chair?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Can we start?
From Councillor Tim Bull and Councillor Pip Reason.
Okay, then. So we're underway now. So direct declarations of interest, please.
Yes, there is one. I'm a member of TAM and I'm their treasurer, so I have an interest, obviously, in the whatever item number it is.
Okay, and Pam?
I'm a member of TAM, but I'm not an official
8A.
Okay.
Sorry, just for Chair, for clarification, is Councillor Townsend-Jones carrying a personal or prejudicial interest?
Personal, I would have said. Carrie?
She obviously didn't hear you. Personal from me. Carrie, personal or
Carrie,
prejudicial?
personal or prejudicial?
That's for you to make a decision on. I'm the treasurer of TAM, so it's up to you to advise whether
sorry, Chair, it's not up to you to advise.
It's up to you.
The councillor.
Oh, it's up to me.
Yeah.
It's up to Carrie.
Personal from me, please, Clark. Personal.
Well, I guess as I'm treasurer and it involves money, I guess it could be classed as prejudicial.
Okay. In that case, Chair, when it's to be discussed, I'll temporarily remove Councillor Townsend-Jones from the meeting just for that.
Okay.
Clark, did you just see the message from the Chandra box?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did the clerk see it?
I haven't seen it.
Katie Dowhu?
Yeah, it's Katie Dowd who's joined, and she's Chandra.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if we move on to the minutes of the monthly meeting held on the 10th of December 2020.
November.
Yeah.
Yes.
10th of November, sorry. Anybody got any observations for that? Anything they dispute? Anything that they're not happy with?
Nope.
Can I have a proposal and a seconder for those then, please?
Both.
Pam?
Yeah.
And Carrie? Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Clark's report?
I couldn't find that when you sent it out, Steve. There was nothing on it.
It's a very short verbal report this month.
Okay.
I've had a lot of correspondence recently, and I'm just reflecting about the amount of hard work that councillors do throughout the year. And I think at the end of the year, it's appropriate for me I should really acknowledge that and thank you. The amount of hard work that people sat around this virtual table do is absolutely amazing. And I don't want to preempt the chair's report, but I think 2021, we're going to see some wonderful bearing of fruit, hopefully, with the skate park and Underhill and one or two things. So I think hopefully it's been a hard year. I think you should be proud of your response to COVID and proud of all the work you put in, and hopefully you'll be seeing the fruit of your labours next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Steve. Well appreciated. Okay, well, that's the preamble, I suppose, as well, going on to my report then as well. So if we go on to the chair's report, it's in the folder, you can find it there, but I will read it out as is my fashion. The month of November has seen continued progress in relation to Underhill Park development following discussion with Mumbles Community Association and the relevant department of the Welsh Government. A special full council meeting was called on the 17th November where it was agreed to seek permission to borrow the money to finance the rest of the initiative. We are currently awaiting the decision on this request, which we are hoping to have in the near future. Additionally, we are continuing to pursue with the City and County of Swansea the signing over the lease of the park to MCC. Two other concurrent developments are underway in relation to Underhill initiative, and these concern the drawing up of the legal partnership between MCA and ourselves, which will provide the legal basis for a working relationship going forward. An integral part of this will be the appointment of our project manager, who will be responsible for looking after the best interests of MCC as the project progresses. I am pleased to report that the following meetings with both our legal representatives and Andrew Jones, who was appointed to the post of this project manager, that hopefully, depending on the agreement of MCA, we will be in a position to finalise this agreement in the very near future. As we approach Christmas and the end of the year, which has been a very taxing for many of us and for many people in the community, I am pleased to report the addition of the Christmas lighting, particularly around the Ostream Centre, and the new festoon lighting along the promenade area, have really highlighted, have really brightened up our local environment, and will hopefully contribute to the festive feeling of the upcoming holiday season. On that note, considering that this is the last full scheduled meeting of Council where I will be presenting a report before the holiday season, I would like to take this opportunity to wish my fellow councillors a happy Christmas and New Year, and ask that we all reflect on the challenges and successes that we have all encountered over the past 12 months, which has been particularly trying for all of us, I think. And I believe that as we continue to make progress on some of these major undertakings, such as the skate park, Ostream, the tennis courts and the bowls green and Underhill, and going forward into the new year, it will be rewarding for us as a community council to see some of these plans, into which we have all put so much effort, come to fruition. So that's my report for this year. I don't know if anybody can comment, anything they want to add or anything.
Thanks, Mark.
It's all right, no problem. But
this might be the only time to say this, Martin, so I'll just say it now if that's okay. Which is that in terms of the COVID response, we would have really hoped to have done some sort of thank you and celebration event for everybody that's been involved in that, and we haven't been able to. So the COVID ops team are hoping to put together a bit of a video just to say thanks and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all of that.
The thing is with the COVID thing, because it's still ongoing, isn't it, really? And I think maybe as we come into the new year and the promise that the vaccination program is hopefully giving to us, I think maybe that might be the time then. But yeah, you know, fantastic work that's been done with the COVID. I think, you know, as a community council, we should take pride in that, and you, Rebecca, should particularly take pride in taking the lead on that. And I just sort of think that is a good example of the sort of thing that a community council can do, and the point and why a community council is such a good thing to have, to be honest. I know so often people talk about community councils, you know, as you know, in my day job, I've done quite a lot of work in the past with the Welsh Government and stuff like that. And so often when you're working with councils and at the Welsh Government level, people, I think, sometimes discount community councils. And to my way of thinking, they've got a very important role to play in the communities of Wales. And I think Mumbles Community Council have done proud this year in the challenges that we've raised to, and the way that the council has responded to those. So yeah, you know, great, Rebecca, all power to your elbow on that. And let's look forward to the new year when hopefully we as a community as well, all of us can be coming out of this COVID nightmare. Pam?
Who's Andrew Price, please?
Andrew Davis. Sorry, I did say he is the guy who's been appointed as our sort of shadow project manager, who will be looking after our interests.
I got that, but who is the chap? Do we know it? Where's he from?
Paul is...
He works for, well, the company is Hurley and Davis, and he's the Davis of that company, and he's the existing project manager for the Langland tennis courts.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the second project he's picked up for us on for the council.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Any
Sarah,
other?
Sarah is saying she can't get in. She's in and out, and this sounds terrible, and she can't hear anything. Just
Is she asking? Is it Carrie? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just it's on the same sort of line as Pam. I mean, you know, just interested in you know what the brief is for the project manager, and is there going to be opportunities for us to actually meet with him and get involved in the work that he's doing at all?
I would like to think that he will be, he will be providing reports to the council, which I'm more than sure he will be happy to provide personally to the council. He's only recently been appointed. We did have a sort of precursor meeting with him last week, I think it was, where we discussed the brief and the brief in relation to MCA's project manager, and where the two roles will coalesce and where the two roles will be different. And you know, he's more than happy to be providing reports to MCC on his progress. It will particularly come to the fore as to where he fits into the whole structure when the agreement is drawn up and the formal agreement is developed, because his role should be more clearly defined, I think, there. But his role will be as defined by our One Voice Wales consultant, is somebody who's been appointed who will be specifically there to look after the interests of MCC.
Okay, right, that's helpful. Thanks very much, Martin.
Okay. Any other points?
This Chandra person, can they not get in the same as Sarah?
Well, maybe are they just listening?
I don't know, just to make
Yes,
sure.
I think they're just listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people don't like to put on their cameras.
No, just to make sure they could get in if they wanted
Well,
to.
they have communicated. I hope you can hear us, Chandra. Anyway.
Okay.
So.
Sorry.
So, Sarah?
Sarah's got her hand up.
I think with me it was simply geographically, it was the wrong place in the house. I'm back in the back room now.
Yeah. Okay, she's back in the room. Back in the room. Okay, so can we now move on to the financial report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Quite a brief report this month. You've got a list there of the invoices that have been paid this month, so it's asking for retrospective approval for those payments. And there's also the Barclaycard payments which came through in the November statement. All the invoices and the Barclaycard invoices have been saved to OneDrive and Dropbox if anyone wants to look at them. We've had a payment in from the Austrian Community Association for £7,000. That's their rent for the last half of last year and the first half of this year. The bank balance figures are there as at the 2nd of December. And I put the budget monitoring table in there, which shows the position as at the end of October. Spent just over 200,000, which is approximately 18.75% of the budget. But obviously, there's some significant figures in the budget which haven't been spent yet in terms of the Underhill project and skate park. So that's the reason for a reasonably low expenditure to the end of October.
Carrie?
I just asked the business support leaflets. Was that leading on from the COVID team that we were looking at putting out information for the businesses, and if so, has it gone out to all businesses or how is it being distributed?
No, that was for the Chamber of Trade, for the I think it was for the training course that they were going to put on for the businesses in the start of this month, but unfortunately none of the businesses were happy to sign up for it.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then are we all happy to accept those and accept Paul's financial report?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you
thank
for
you, Chair.
that. Right, moving on to item 7, hosting of Zoom meetings. Proposed that all council committee, subcommittee and full council meetings held on Zoom or other video conferencing platforms are hosted and control retained at all times by the officer servicing that meeting. Proposed by Carrie Town and John. Have we got a seconder for this, Steve?
I'll second it.
Okay. I was just
Thank you.
wondering whether where was.
No other seconder. So
Okay.
just so you know, it's fine to put a proposal on the agenda and ask for a seconder on the evening. That's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, I was just wondering because we had it on there. No problem. So this is the proposal. I'll hand over to you, Carrie.
Okay, yeah, it's one of those things that you wouldn't think would be necessary, but unfortunately, when hosting has been handed to certain councillors in terms of committees, they have used that resource inappropriately by excluding people and removing people from meetings when it suited them. Which of course is completely against standing orders. It's certainly not the sort of thing that would happen in a face-to-face meeting. And my view is that virtual meetings should follow exactly the same process and rules as face-to-face meetings. And unless someone is behaving abusively, in which case a vote is taken for them to either be removed or not, the chair of any committee or subcommittee or anything else does not have the power to just exclude people because it suits them. Therefore, by having the officer having that control, that won't happen again.
Pam, did you want to say something?
I don't understand. Do you mean the person who's hosting the meeting can actually kick somebody out of the meeting?
Yeah.
And I didn't
Yes.
know that can happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know that can happen. Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Anybody else wants to come in on this?
I will.
Sarah?
Yeah, hang on. I'm just, oh, I'm not muted. Yeah, I think it's fair. I think leave the professional in charge.
Do we actually need this? Aren't we all supposed to be grown-ups and know the rules and know?
Pam, please can you let people speak in order?
Right.
Richard, please.
Yeah. Now, the chair is supposed to be chairing the meeting, and it's up to them, I feel, to kick people out according to the rules. They can always take advice from Steve and Paul. However, if we leave that down to Steve and Paul, I think it puts them in an awkward position. And I think it's down to the chair, it's their responsibility. And I think it should stay with the chair.
Okay, Rob, please.
Yeah, before Rob comes in, point of information, I don't think that's Carrie's suggestion at all. Richard's absolutely right. It'd be totally inappropriate for Paul and I to make those decisions.
Yeah.
The proper way by standing orders is the chair of the meeting. If they feel that someone is disruptive, they ask that meeting to vote on their expulsion. The meeting would vote and say they voted to expel someone, then the chair would then instruct the officer to remove them virtually from the meeting.
Yeah, that's exactly what was intended by it.
Okay, Rob.
I'm in agreement with Richard here. We have chairs of committees for a reason. Before we went to this new committee structure, we didn't have our officers serving our committees. The chairs took the minutes and the chairs controlled the meetings. Now, it can be awkward with people who like to get their opinions across and maybe interrupt and whatever, but at the same time, there's a way of doing things. I think the first thing should be a warning. And then if the warning isn't heeded, especially, well, 2 warnings and out. And I think that needs to be the chair's decision, because if you put something to a vote like that, people might not vote the way they feel they should vote because they don't want to upset people. The chair is there for a reason, which is to control the meeting. The same as on non-virtual meetings. The officers, you'd have a company secretary who would take the minutes, but the chair is in control of that meeting. So I think it needs to be that the chair does have the power to do that to disruptive people.
Okay, Ian,
Why is this
please.
the point to the chair?
Ian, please. You muted, Ian.
No, he's not.
Yeah, yes. You muted
You
Ian.
muted again, yeah. It seems to be awfully slow in responding tonight, the Zoom is.
You go now.
Hang on.
He was unmuted then. For a
Ian's
while.
now Pam.
Ian?
Zoom seems to have gone really
Hi.
slow.
Okay.
You can hear you now. Now we can't.
Use the space bar. Hold the space bar down. That'll unmute it.
Yeah.
Depends what you're using, a computer or
Oh, that's true.
iPad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely an iPad.
Yep.
Okay,
You're
that's it.
unmuted.
If you can all stop talking, I'll maybe get a chance to get something in before it goes off again.
Go on.
It's gone again.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Ian, we can hear you.
Okay. Right. This matter concerning the hosting. The council officers are there to assist the council on matters arising, not to host meetings. What is needed, if anything, is a due process in the event of a difficult councillor. And the chair should call a halt to the meeting and advise the councillor of their behaviour will not be tolerated. And if it continues, a vote will be taken to shut out that same councillor from the meeting. Now, did you all get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my view. And if you start talking about reducing the role of chairs, you start talking about reducing their remuneration as well, please.
Okay. Sarah, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I did. If the chair is forced to send somebody out of a meeting, I think they should actually make a point of giving the reason, and the reason should be a good one. Not, I'm annoyed with this person, they seem to have views that I don't approve of. That's my point.
Okay. Will?
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I worry this is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction off one incident. I don't think we've ever had a problem with it before, and I think that this might be a bit of an overreaction. We haven't really got a good procedure in place, and what really needs to happen is we need to have a little bit more of a procedure for if someone if there's a disagreement. You know, sometimes it might be the chair, to be fair, that's acting irrationally, or it might be one of the members of the committee. There needs to be warnings issued, I think, but I do think that it should be for the chairs of the committees, because some of them are paid, and they are there to chair the meetings. And if the officers aren't there, then obviously our meeting, I'm guessing, still goes ahead. So if this does go through, then what happens in that situation, you know? So I do think the chair should still have the control over the meeting, but we should have some better procedures in place, because, you know, it isn't fair to just you know, for a chair to be able to cut someone off or kick someone out for no reason.
Okay. Steve and then Carrie. Steve, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, point of order. I know you guys don't live in the world of standing orders like Paul and I do, but standing order number 2, disorderly conduct of a meeting, spells exactly how it's done. It's as I stated. It's not the chair's decision. It's Obviously, if Rob wants to amend those, that's great. But to say you don't have a procedure is not correct. Secondly, in a real world meeting, obviously you would ask someone to physically leave, and I'm sure they would. And I'm sure that would happen in a virtual meeting. But this concept of hosting is a Zoom concept. It merely means that the person who, by default, who set up the meeting is the host. As I say, I want to reiterate, neither Paul nor myself should get involved with any role that's akin to chairing the meeting. This proposal, as Councillor Townsend-Jones has reiterated twice now, doesn't involve that at all. All it is us complying with the instructions of the chair following a vote by that meeting's committee or council meeting. Thanks.
Okay, Carrie, I think we've had a pretty full
Well, I
discussion,
think
but can you
Steve's
sum it up? Yeah.
covered most of it. But yes, this is absolutely nothing to do with chairing the meeting. Zoom is a means by which at the moment we are able to hold meetings. The person who sets up the meeting hosts it, lets people in, you know, which is, you know, makes a note of when people are wanting to leave or wanting to come in. And, or I'm not asking for the either Steve or Paul to have any input into the meeting at all. I'm just saying that all they do is retain that control of the Zoom, and the chair gets on and carries on with the meeting. And there's absolutely no reason why there should be any need for a chair to be in control of Zoom. At the moment, Martin, you haven't taken control of the Zoom, have you?
Sometimes I do, but I haven't on this occasion.
I mean, if somebody wants to share a screen, then it's handed over to them. They're given that ability to be able to share their screen, and then the screen is switched back off and it reverts back to how it is. Will has said, what if there's no officer at the meeting? Well, there very rarely isn't, because at the moment, Zoom, Steve is the only person who can set up a Zoom meeting. So if he's not there to set up the meeting, then it won't happen. Or in Paul's case, he sets up a Teams meeting. I'm not sure under what circumstances would there not be an officer present, because all the committees are serviced by an officer. And if one of them is unavailable, as exactly as happens in a face-to-face meeting, then the other officer stands in for them. It's highly unlikely that both of them would suddenly become unavailable for a meeting at the same time.
Okay, just to try and sum this up then. In a lot of ways, it seems to me nobody is disagreeing the fact that it's got to be in the chair of it is the person who's chairing the meeting who has to lead the procedures on this, right? So if that is the case, we have already got in our standing orders a procedure in place for that. If a councillor is being disruptive, then that councillor needs to be warned. Then it needs to be warned, I seem to remember, a second time, Steve, and then it can be voted on as to whether that councillor is excluded. Now, whether it's the case that the officer who's servicing that meeting, but that instruction needs to come from the chair following the correct procedures that have been followed. Now, I think the best way to resolving this is if we minute this, so it is clarified exactly what the procedure is. So therefore, if any chair or if any councillor doesn't follow that procedure, then they can be censured. So my suggestion is that's what we do to resolve the situation. Rob?
Can I just make a recommendation that we update the standing orders on this to say, and to not for any other reason, but to involve embarrassment of either our officers or fellow councillors, that the procedure would be 2 verbal warnings, and on the third time, it would be out rather than a vote, so that we don't embarrass any councillors.
Sorry, I don't think that you can have it entirely up to the chair. If there's a meeting of 16 people and 15 of them think that person's being perfectly fine, and the chair takes exception, why should it be entirely up to the chair to choose and not to the councillors who are present at that meeting?
Okay, can I bring Gareth in, please?
I think the issue we got here, Chair, is that the chair of that particular meeting or a particular meeting is given control of the meeting, and he then has got the right, he's got the access to block somebody immediately without anybody saying anything. He can cut somebody out of the meeting completely and to stop them coming in. That's the issue we've got, not the actual chairing of the meeting. It's who's controlling the meeting is the issue.
And also, you know, I suppose what the issue is there is that somebody can exclude somebody from the meeting or even chuck them out of the meeting, and the rest of the people in the meeting are completely and utterly unaware of this.
Exactly.
Yes. Pam, and then I want to bring Steve in on a point of order.
Just asking you a question. What if the chair is the one whose behaviour or whatever is totally unacceptable? Is there a procedure where the people on the committee can instigate that procedure against the chair? I honestly don't know how it works. I'm just asking for advice on this.
Well, that's the point now when I wanted to bring in Steve on a point of order.
Thank you.
Because as Steve says, Steve and Paul live in the world of standing orders. What is the procedure, and is the procedure that there needs to be a vote in that particular committee to exclude a particular councillor?
Yes, it does. That's correct. It does.
Yeah, and it would be the same if it was the chair. They could instigate a vote of no confidence in the chair.
Yes, they could put a motion that the chair be excluded from the meeting and the vice chair take over the chair role, yes.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say, we've already got these procedures in place. What it is about implementing them. And I do think that probably there's a point there that what can happen, particularly with doing things through Zoom, which is something that we haven't come across before, is that somebody can be excluded or muted without anybody else in the meeting knowing about that. So again, I would suggest that we just clarify this as procedures through the minutes of this meeting. Personally, I don't think we have to amend standing orders because it is just the way that we follow procedure in a Zoom environment.
Okay. Can I say something here, Martin?
Certainly.
Because I think I'm the only chairman of this Monmouth Community Council, and Pam will remember, and so will Steve, when I had to close the meeting down because of behaviour that was unacceptable. I was so concerned. I mean, this is different, I agree, because this is now Zoom way of doing it, but this was physical meetings. And I went to the monitoring officer in the council to ask what I could do. And it seemed as if I had no authority to do anything to force somebody to leave. But I closed the meeting down because it was so disruptive. I think I did it twice. So, yes, I think that you're right in saying that we have procedures here and that we must be clear on how we follow them, because it's different now with Zoom. As you say, you could close a meeting down and or you know, refuse somebody to be a part of the meeting and other people wouldn't know. So I think we want to be very careful listening to what Steve says, because he will be aware of... Sorry, what's going on in the past.
I think you need to close your meeting down.
I don't think the dog agreed with you, Linda.
I think you need to evict them from the meeting.
Or freedom.
No, but
Go on.
again, I think Linda makes a valid point there. But my point is I do think that we've got the procedures in place. It's just a case that we need to clarify them and clarify them in minutes so that if in the future a councillor doesn't follow that procedure, we can sort of say, well, you know, the world of Zoom and the world of Teams is new to a lot of us around the screen here, that we can say, well, look, this was discussed at council, this was the procedure that we agreed, and we go through there. Steve?
Yeah, sorry, Chair, just to go slightly off piste on that. I'm aware that we're halfway through creating a model code of conduct for meetings with Alan Thomas. And I wondered whether, rather than debate that further here, because I know people will have their ideas on different nuances, whether to refer it back to that, so that will be sort of confirmed and agreed as part of your code of conduct.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, but I think more than anything, I get the impression that most of us are agreeing that ultimately it is the chair's role. Ultimately, we have got the procedures, but we just need a bit of clarification as to how those procedures are put in place so that nobody can detract from them. Sarah, you're muted, Sarah.
Sorry. Just to say, that sounds great, but if you follow that through, you're vulnerable to if a chair isn't behaving rationally.
Well, no.
And they misbehave.
Well, no, because as we said before, if a chair is behaving irrationally, then a vote of no confidence can be put forward, the chair can be removed, and the vice chair can take over.
But sorry, can I return to that one?
Yeah.
What if they just press the button and remove you from the meeting?
Exactly.
Then you have no way of getting, and no one else knows.
Well, that's what we're saying. If we put this procedure into place, they will not be able to do that.
Okay, how would that work?
Yeah, how would they be stopped?
Because nobody would be able to be removed from the meeting unless a vote had been taken place by the councillors to remove that person.
But how would you stop the chair just doing it?
You can't. The answer is don't give the chairs control
at the moment.
Yeah,
exactly.
The answer is don't give the chair. You know, we're going around in circles here. The question is, the answer is you don't give the chair the ability to do that.
Right.
And
Right,
it's only the officer can do it at the instruction of the chair. But
thank you.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
exactly
that's
what.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
what I'm saying,
what I
because
was saying.
that's what we're agreeing, really.
Thank
As I said,
you.
we're talking around in the
That's
houses,
fine.
but okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. So are we happy to go ahead? Thank you. Yeah. Can we just carry on with this now then, please?
Yeah.
All right. So we've resolved that situation. Right. So if we go back to the agenda now.
Was there a vote on that then? I'm a bit confused.
Well, I don't know. I didn't think we needed a vote on it because we're not changing anything. We're just confirming the procedures that we've got in place.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I think we'll talk about a vote on Carrie's motion.
Yes, we need a vote, don't we?
Yeah, I don't know, Steve.
Steve?
I didn't think you'd actually had a formal vote on the actual resolution in front of you because you'd be discussing it. But I can't recall you actually having a vote on the proposal itself.
Okay, then should we have a vote on the thing that it will be the officers who have control of who is evicted from the meetings, but that direction will come from the chair. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's carried. Okay, so can we quickly move on to point 8, please?
Right. Steve, I think you have to exclude me for this item.
Yes.
I was abstaining on the last one. I think you meant to
sorry.
just give that option as well. Yeah.
Okay,
I was,
so-
well, but my video didn't come on.
Okay, Kerry's now in the waiting room, Chair.
Okay, so a grant request of £100 towards the cost of Lighthouse Theatre, adding visuals to the existing audiobook recording of Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales to create a 25-minute video. Documents in the additional documents folder. Anybody got any comments on this, Will Thomas?
Yeah, we covered this at committee. My first thought was that it wasn't really relevant enough to our area and was more of a Swansea thing. But I think Rebecca explained how it was linking the twinning up, and I think it was at the time. I mean, it was about a month ago now, but it did sound like it made sense to me. So from a committee decision, I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments, observations?
Super idea.
Okay, so all those in favour? Okay, that's okay. Steve?
Steve,
want-
can I just say that we're hoping that this video will be made available to our twinning partners before Christmas. So Lighthouse Theatre are primed, ready to go if this is accepted. So if we could let them know as soon as possible that it has been, that would be great.
That'd be great for before Christmas. So obviously it's very apt for that. So questions for the chair of the Community and Social Wellbeing Committee. Any questions? Yeah, Will Thomas?
Sorry, I have a question. Yeah, I saw in the newspaper today there's a notice about the skate park. Just wondered if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I can do, but Pam will probably be in a better position to.
It's part of the ongoing process. Because they're turning over a piece of open space to us, they have to first consult the community and what the community thinks about it so that they can justify it in terms of whether, because the rateable value will be very high, we would have it as a public comment. So it's got to go out to public consultation, and that's the open spaces consultation that's going on now. It's not a second go at the planning. It's nothing to do with planning. The names of anybody who writes in will not be named. It will just be part of the appendix that the officers put together for cabinet. It's the open spaces, change of open space use is for the council, it's not for us. It's something they've got to do.
Okay.
Can I come in, Chair?
Yeah, of course, Ian.
Yeah, thank you. Can we assume now that this is it's a formal notice that we have here that Floyne Derry will be handed over to the skate park? So
no, we're still part of the consultation process. Until this is finished, the consultation process will not be over.
So the actual document that the consultant did is still not available to the public?
I have no idea, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It is.
Sorry,
available.
it is available to the public
Yes.
again. We had a freedom of information request, and Steve looked into the validity of that request and found that there was no reason why we shouldn't publish it. So it is now available on our website.
And
It
has been released for a number of weeks now.
When did you arrive at that decision? Because that decision was with Swansea were holding it up. So when was that decided?
I can't remember exactly when the request came in, but our obligations under the Freedom of Information Act supersede our previous agreement.
It must be about.
So we can legitimately speak about it now because seemingly we were tongue-tied on this one. We weren't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I just ask, what item are we on?
Questions to
the.
So the other items have been dealt with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was only one item, Chair. There was only one item.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, are there any other more questions to the chair of the Community Social Wellbeing Committee? No, okay, then if we can move on to the recommendations made by the Cultural and Tourism and Wellbeing Committee. Expressions of interest in the Heritage Lottery Grant. The first stage of applying for a Heritage Lottery Grant is to submit an expression of interest letter. Swansea University have been helping with this application, and their draft letter is attached, which is in attached documents. Recommended that approval be given to submit of the expressions of interest letter as soon as the lottery is open to applications again.
Did anybody find the letter because it wasn't attached?
Steve? I'm sure I've seen it somewhere, but anyway.
Must be in OneDrive, Chair.
No.
I can't see it in OneDrive.
No,
It would have been attached to the Cultural and Tourism Committee's agenda, because that's just taken straight from the agenda of the Cultural and Tourism Committee.
I thought I'd seen it somewhere.
It would be useful to actually see it before we agree to it.
Chair, Councillor Thomas can speak on the actual content of it. It's an expression of wish, isn't it? It's not a full application.
Yeah, it's a sort of request. It's the starting the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay,
a
so where do we find it?
It's not a formal application.
No. But it would just be interesting to see, because I don't think we've really ever had any clear idea of exactly what's involved in this.
Is this the Blythe letter? Is it the letter from the Blythe? From Blythe?
No, it isn't, Councillor.
No. Thank you.
It's for it's to start off the digital archive project.
And it's just an expression of interest, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not an official. The procedure is you send in a expression of interest, and then that they respond to that, and then you submit a full application, and obviously that would go to council as well. It has.
Okay. Okay. Well, bearing on mind, and
Paul, I found it.
Yeah, if you want to see the document, it's on the Cultural and Tourism Committee agenda for the meeting on the 2nd of December.
Yeah, I've just found it.
I'm happy to give people a background of it who haven't seen it, but obviously you've all got it in front of you. But basically,
just having a quick whiz through.
Yeah, just to give everyone a recap. The idea is that we set up a digital archive for Mumbles. There's a number of different history groups. There's Oystermouth Radio included as well, who've got a lot of very interesting audio interviews with people who've badly passed on, and people who are still with us, and interesting people. There's many pictures OHA, of Oystermouth Historical Association, have got on physical photographs in their sort of archive, which people very rarely get to see. And there's also hundreds of photographs and stories to tell out there that unfortunately lots of photo albums end up in the tip these days, and lots of people pass on. And the whole idea is that we have a digital archive which collates videos, photos, audio, and it's categorized into areas, points of interest, people. It's a long, ongoing, very big project, and this grant application would go somewhat to really starting this off. What I would like to do is obviously start this before this big grant application goes, but it's obviously a lot of work, and if anyone else wants to jump in and help out, they're more than welcome. But basically, this is just an expression of interest letter outlining what we want to do, and why we'd like the funds. And obviously, if we got a nice reply, then obviously we'd have a more in-depth application, which everyone would also get to see.
Okay, Carrie.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I mean, obviously there are gaps in it at the moment. Have you got any ideas about the numbers that at the moment are not completed? Because
Yeah,
obviously that's quite important.
yeah, we have chatted them through.
Right.
Which ones in particular are you?
Well, it just says, you know, X number of volunteers and X number of oral histories. Obviously, if you're applying for a grant, you've got to be very specific about what you're actually planning to do.
Yeah, of course, you know, not going to put X in there, but you know, that's for OHA to just fill in that that little blank there, really, because
right. So this is actually on behalf of Austrian Historical Association rather than MCC.
No. They would be hopefully providing the bulk of the volunteers because theoretically their members are probably the most engaged in local history. So
yeah.
Okay, Sarah. You're muted, Sarah.
Sorry. I think it's a very good project. It's something that MCC should be doing. I agree with Will. I found when we took over this house, we had a bag full of old photos, which we knew what to do with, and it seemed incredibly personal, didn't know what to do with them. Yeah, it's great. We should be compiling all this stuff now because it'll just disappear otherwise. Good work.
So, okay, then, considering that this is just an expression of interest at this point in time and people can access the letter, are we happy to okay this? Yeah, okay, let's move on then. Thank you. Right, additional hours for marketing events and editorial planner. Recommended that the marketing events and editorial planners hours be extended by 2.5 hours a week until the 31st of March 2021 to allow her to do some project management. The costs will be funded from budget CL17 Digital Archive. Any observations? Anybody want to comment on that, Carrie?
Yeah, quite a simple question, really. If the project is not actually starting for some time yet, then I'm not entirely clear what the project manager would be doing at this stage, because obviously the project can't start until after the grant has been received.
Rob?
I'll just answer that, Carrie. I mean, look, if we do get started and, you know, without having the grant doesn't stop us getting started on this anyway.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Could you let him finish, please, Carrie?
Thank you, Martin. Because we can still start on this project. The letter that Will has submitted, that we've just approved, is for when we apply for money, an expression of applying for money. We can still get on with organising things for the digital archive. And that's what Claire's hours can be used for. And if Claire doesn't do this work, then that money's not going to be spent. And anyway, it's coming out of the digital archive budget anyway, so it's not spent anywhere else.
Will?
Yeah, just to give everyone a little bit of detail on how exactly it works. So Swansea University are our sort of partners on this as well. They've got access to this open source software called Omeka, which is like a international open source archive software. So theoretically, it's always there. So you upload a picture, as long as you got it saved on a server somewhere, it's safe forever, 100 years, 1,000 years theoretically. So it's there. Now, Swansea University have said they're happy to train up our volunteers, members, staff, whoever, to use this software. Now, they've got a sort of out-of-the-box front-end website which would translate the data in the Omeka system onto the front-end website. We'd want something a bit better. So longer term, we wouldn't put our website live straight away until we've got budget to do that. But as Rob said, we can upload data from, you know, as soon as we can have a meeting with Swansea Uni and they can show us how to use the system. So we could, for example, start tomorrow if Swansea University were free to give us a training session and start uploading stuff. That we've got the agreement in place with Swansea University. Swansea Council have said we can use the library. Obviously, that was pre-COVID, 1 day a week. And you know, these hours would be for bringing people together, keeping everyone motivated, you know, dealing with volunteers, different volunteer sets, coordinating different groups of photos, for example. Let's, you know, have an amnesty on Langland, get all the people in the local area, right, scan your photos, fill in this form to give us copyright, and send your pictures in of Langland. You know, you could do a social media thing. Well, there's lots of different things we can do now before the full project kicks off. And the full project is basically just a much better, stronger version of what we could do on a voluntary level anyway. So as Rob said, there's plenty to do.
Okay, Carrie, quickly.
Yeah, it's not saying that you know, there's nothing to do, but I think you do need to be aware that grant funding will not normally be given for a project which is already underway. They look at funding something which would not otherwise be running if they didn't have the funding. So you know, it's quite, you will find that most grant funders will actually say, you know, this needs to be for a new project and not to pay for the continuation of something that you're doing anyway.
Okay.
So it's just a word of warning, you know,
Okay.
that you've got to be careful if you want to get the money. You don't want to find you're in a position where they say, well, you're not eligible because you're already doing it anyway.
Okay, quickly, Rob, I think we can go to
yes,
a vote then, yeah.
Can we just stop going off the point and just get to the vote, please?
Yeah.
No, sorry,
Okay. Okay. Pam, are you wanting to speak?
yeah, but that's not off the point. If we're already funding the project, will we be eligible for grant funding for a project we're already funding?
The question is, can we just approve these extra hours for Claire? That's what is on the...
Yeah, but if you jeopardise the grant by approving the extra hours now, can somebody answer that question? Because I don't know the answer.
I can. So the large part of the grant is for the front end of the website. We can't afford, as I said earlier, to touch the front end of the website. We can only populate the database in the back end. So, in my opinion, it's not the, you know, it's not the project.
And it would be as how you put, from my experience, it would be how you put the loan application as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can I move it to the vote, please? All those in favour of these hours? Thank you. Right. Oh, so questions to the chair of the Cultural and Tourism Wellbeing Committee. Any questions? Oh, okay.
Oh,
So sorry.
Marvellous.
Oh, marvellous. Okay, so then if we move on to point 12, we've got a number of points here. Recommendations made by the Environmental Wellbeing Committee. Mumbles, see supporting papers, additional documents, photos, Mumbles in the Loop. Recommended that as part of the Mumbles in the Loop campaign, MCC purchase 16 Derby Duo recycling bins to replace 16 general waste only bins at a cost of $11,295.
Yeah. I'm hoping that most of you will have read the background paperwork and you don't want me to actually go through it, but if you haven't, then I'm more than happy to. This is the first part of a long-term project for us to actually put in recycling bins right the way through the whole Mumbles area. We're looking for this year at Southend Gardens, the Prom and Newton Road, and then over the next 2 years we'll be looking at obviously West Cross, further along up the Prom, Newton, Males, Klein Gardens, etc., so that everywhere there is an opportunity for people to actually be able to recycle rather than just everything going into landfill. Okay. We've decided to focus on Southend Gardens and Newton Road because obviously they have a high usage, particularly by, you know, the shops and businesses around.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, Carrie, just a question to you about all your proposals now that you've put on tonight. Is this coming from the environmental budget, the current environmental budget?
It's all costed within our civic communities budget that we have for this year. Yeah. None of this needs money from anywhere else.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Pam.
That didn't actually answer his question. that was whether it's coming from the environmental or the reserves.
No, it's coming from the Civic Amenities budget, which is part of the Environmental Committee's budget.
Right.
It's one of the budget headings within the Environmental Wellbeing budget.
Okay, Pam?
The old bins are not going to be thrown out, are they? They're going to be used somewhere else instead.
Yeah.
And I was with someone today who knew that we had recycling bills inside the co-op and walked to Mumbles with a huge carrier bag full of crisp bags that they collected over the last few months. So people are getting involved. They do know what we're trying to do, and it is working.
Thank you.
Okay. Ian?
Yeah, thank you. How many bins do you intend replacing?
Well, as you can see, it says 16.
No, I'm not talking about the 16. I'm talking about how many bins are you replacing with your program?
16. In this phase, the first phase is 16.
No, in total.
Well, we don't know. We're going to look. I mean, we haven't.
You don't know how many. You don't know if 16.
We haven't
costing,
done the full inventory of West Cross and Newton and the rest of Males yet. We've only done the inventory of Klein Gardens and Mumbles. It's quite a big job.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. But if I can just make the point, if it's costing 11,295 for 16, it would be helpful for council to know how many you intend putting throughout the area.
It's going to be roughly the same number again next year, and then the same number again the year after.
So can you give me a comparable price to what the cost of the existing style of bins are in comparison to what this proposal is for these recycling bins? And I would add that I am in favour of recycling, and I've been pushing for new bins for an awful long time. So could you answer that question, please?
No, because we didn't look at, I mean, there would be absolutely no point in replacing bins with exactly the same bins. The only reason we're looking at this is because we're wanting to replace them with recycling bins. And that's why they're called Derby Duos. They're ones with two separate, completely separate.
I have looked at looked at the pictorial, thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't know how many bins are going to be. You don't know how much.
Yes, there's going to be 16.
Yeah, I know that's that's what's in front of us.
Yes.
That's what you're asking for, but I was wanting to know a little bit more information on it.
Well, what more than 16 bins do you need to know?
What arrangement have you arrived at with City as to the separation of and the collection of and emptying of these bins?
They're going to be put in exactly the same place as where there are currently landfill bins, and the collection will take place in exactly the same way as it does at the moment.
And there is some sort of guarantee that the contents of the bin will be recycled.
Yes.
Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay. Will?
Yeah, hi. The bins that are going to be replaced, would they be replacing some which are, perfectly fine at the moment?
Yes, some of them are, yes.
Okay, because I mean, obviously there is quite a number of bins which are quite, well, I've been nagging the council for ages.
They're knackered, yes.
Yeah, and they just don't replace them, unfortunately. I've got many constituents who ask for bins to be replaced, and they obviously just don't swap them, and they cost a huge amount of money to look at swapping them. I'm just wondering what's going to happen to those bins that are going to be...
The ones that are usable will be reused and will replace ones which are no longer usable.
Okay, makes sense, thanks.
Okay, Rebecca?
Thanks. It's just a point for clarification, Carrie, if that's okay. The supporting paper on Mumbles in the Loop costs phase 1 at £5,568.
Sorry, let me just find it.
Just wondering where the figure of 11,000 is coming from.
Ah, right. Yes, I think maybe that's, have I got the wrong paper here? What it is that originally we were looking at a smaller number of bins. And, oh, no, I think what's happened is that inadvertently, the total cost for all the bins has been, because if you look, it's actually, that's the total of the cost over the 3 years rather than the cost for...
Sorry, it's not. I did that maths to see if that was right, but the total cost over the 3 years is 12,360.
Oh, right. Sorry, I'll have to look at my budget and I can tell you then exactly.
Perhaps this ought to go back to the committee, I think.
No, because we want to get on and buy them.
Yes, but we need to have the proper costing.
Steve,
I can help the figures for Carrie.
Thank you, Steve.
I think what may have happened is I asked Maddie to do a quick brief on the principle, and she's probably put in her old paper, because if you recall, Chair, we had phase 1A and 1B.
Yes.
We were going to have different types of bins, but that was amended. So this first phase 1 project, as you say, is 16 bins, and the total cost is 11,295.
Yes, so she's actually, the cost is for what originally we were looking at a very different system, because we were originally looking at a smaller number of quad bins. But after discussions with Swansea Council, they said there was no need to have quad bins because their recycling centre separates all the recycling anyway. So there isn't a need for us to have all the separate bins. So that's enabled us to actually have more than we would have done otherwise. So 1A was going to be the quad bins, 1B was going to be these duo bins in other areas. And as you say, in fact, unfortunately, and I should have checked it first, what Maddie's done is only put in the cost from 1A, but actually the total is 1A and 1B.
Okay, then.
So it is a total of 16 bins.
Linda?
I just want to ask a question. Does that cover the sort of the cost of them collecting the rubbish? Because what I found when I wanted new bins was that it was expensive, not just because of the bin, but because you were paying for the 3 years of them being collected.
No, because all we're doing is replacing existing bins. There's no ongoing cost.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so if we haven't got any other questions on that, can I please move it to the vote? All those in favour of recommending purchasing these bins? Okay, all those against? Anybody
I'll abstain on this.
Abstain, okay, thank you very much, Ian. If we move on to B then, Bottle Villa Fountain Phase 1. Again, please see supporting paper under the additional documents folder. Recommended that 5 bottle filler fountains be rented at an initial cost of 8,920. Anybody want?
Obviously, at the moment, we have one refill station, which is based in Oystermouth Square. What we want to do is obviously extend that to a much wider area, ultimately obviously right across the area, but for the moment we're looking at 5 key sites where they would be located. The reason we did a lot of, Steve and Maddie have done a lot of work on the costs, and it looks like renting them is a much more cost-effective way of doing it, because obviously if there's any maintenance or anything involved, if they need replacing, then that is done automatically by the company we rent them off.
Okay, anybody else got any observations, anything? Ian, would you like to come in?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. It would seem to me that Christmas has come early for environmental here. You know, there's an awful lot of money going out, £25,000 if it's all approved.
Yeah.
Anyway, to keep to the point, 5 bottle fillers. I've looked at the paperwork attached to this application, and not only are they bottle fillers, but they're fountains. I would have thought that in this particular time, that would be a redundant facility. You know, who would want to put their mouth around a fountain, you know, with COVID around? Now, the other thing, with the fountain that you've been talking about in the village that's at the back of the toilets in the car park, how frequently is it being used?
Sorry, do you want me to answer that? Quite a lot.
Yes.
It's got a little counter on it, and I can't remember, I haven't actually looked at it recently, but I know when we last looked at it, it was something like, you know, several hundred uses over a period of a few months.
Okay.
You know, it's just that, you know, there's no point in having a monitor unless we as a council are going to be monitoring it. And unless, of course, we're going to use it then as a guide as to whether we should invest more money into this particular project.
Okay.
The other, sorry, Chair, but the other
no,
thing,
sorry.
of course, is, does this cost include the installation? And if not, what is the cost of the installation? And have you got approval where you intend to put them?
Sorry, do you want me to answer that?
Carrie.
Yes, it does include installation. What it doesn't include is any groundworks and surveys. And in other words, you know, putting pipes in and things. So we're making sure that we're looking at places where there is already an existing water supply, so that we can tap into that rather than having to lay completely new pipes.
That's very good, that, tap into that. That's very appropriate.
I know, good that.
That's very appropriate, yes.
Must be Christmas.
But
Okay.
I think we need more information on the costings of this, actually, when you're rolling this out.
Okay, Sarah, and then Rob.
Yes, I understand at the moment with COVID, there is this attitude which seems to be, forget about the worry about plastics and what's happening in the environment. Let's dish that and deal with COVID. It's not going away. We need to cut plastics completely. The only way to do that is to have these bottle fillers all over the place so people can use them, either to fill up bottles or to drink from them. We've got a vaccine coming. We'll get back to normal at some point. We still need to deal with the plastics. Okay. Thanks.
Rob?
Yeah, I understand these fountains are to help deal with plastic-free mumbles and all that. The only thing is that, you know, not everybody drinks water. If you're parched on a really hot day, you might want a Lucozade or a Coke or fruit juice or something like that. So, you know, we've got to be realistic about how many people are going to use these fountains, or are they going to just nip into near a shop and rather than carry a bottle around with them, which when you're walking or on your skateboard or on your bicycle can be a bit of a pain in the arse, you just want to walk into a shop and buy something which is cold from the fridge.
Okay. Pam?
My experience is that I'm out of the age group that does this and drinks a lot of water, but having grandchildren between the age of 6 months and 13 or 14, all they do is drink water. They don't drink anything else, and they are constant water drinkers. There's a new generation coming up that's very into what they drink. Thank you, Rob. And they're very aware of what goes into their bodies, and I think we should be helping those young people to stay fit and healthy. Yeah, you and I maybe wouldn't, but I think there's an whole generation coming up through that are very conscious of what they're doing. They don't want to use plastic. They do want to be healthy, and they do want to help the environment. And they all know David Attenborough's name, so I think we've got to do what we can to support it.
Okay.
Can I?
Sarah, come in.
Very quickly. We, as a community council, have a responsibility, regardless of whatever anybody else's bad habits are, to encourage good ones. This is a good habit. We need to encourage it. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody else got anything else, Steve?
Yeah, so just to confirm to the point of information for the chair's comments about the surveying groundwork. One of the advantages of renting is the actual installation is free, but those costs do include quite a considerable sum for surveying groundwork of 800 per thing, which obviously we're hoping is going to be much less. But as the chair will confirm, that we will be very conservative with that price, won't we? Because these costs can be high, and if it was a really good place, we might want to spend it. But hopefully, we won't be spending that. But that was the conservative budgeting cost.
Yeah.
It is good to be conservative as well, I hear.
He couldn't resist getting that one in, could he?
I guess, sorry, I did.
And he's got his blue top on and everything. Right, okay, so can we
I've got my red one on.
There we go. So can we put this to a vote, please? All those in favour of sorry, I got to get the thing. All those in favour of supporting the bottle filler. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, anybody abstaining?
I'm against.
I'm against. Okay, so recorded that vote, Steve. So if we go on to the grass verge scheme now, again, see supporting document that MCC trailed the scheme in the area indicated on the proposal. The wildflowers, including bulbs, be purchased at a cost of 1,636. Anybody want to comment on this? Will, are you going to say something?
Yeah, I will say I think it's a really good initiative. I was watching a programme, was Jamie Oliver's mate, the guy with the bees. Does anyone know?
I know who you mean. I can't think of his name. Yeah.
Jamie something? Jamie, no. Anyway, I can't remember his name. Anyway, about how the pollinators have been affected by basically everyone's gardens going, myself included, and which is, since watching that, it will change my garden, but it's, very
good
sort of bamboo and Japanesey, like, anyway, enough about my garden. So I think all the roadside verges are just grass, and a lot of gardens have taken away flowers and things for pollinators. So I think it is a good initiative, and I think it's needed as well, because it does seem like it's quite a dire situation for pollinators. I would personally like to see that be a bit bigger, well, a lot bigger, but you got to start somewhere, and credit to everyone that's involved. So all for it.
Okay, Rebecca.
Be assured it's part of a longer term. We've identified further areas for year 2 and year 3 in the same way as we have with the bins and the water fillers, etc.
Okay, Rebecca.
I just want to congratulate whoever put this paper together. It's really comprehensive.
Brilliant.
And covers a lot of the questions that perhaps some of us who are less familiar with this issue might have been asking. So fully support the proposal.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, I obviously for ages I've been banging on about this. It's brilliant that it's got round the table, and I'm hopeful everybody will vote for it. I think we do have to bring people with us. Carrie's going to cringe through the schools, get the children knowing all the names of the wildflowers, that they're not just weeds, they are wildflowers. If we get the kids early, they'll know that it's not just been, because we're going to have a bit of a fight back. We're going to have people going, this isn't the sort of thing that we expected. These are weeds. And we'll have to go, no, these are wildflowers. I expect that, but we can work with people and get them on board. But brilliant.
Okay,
yeah.
Ian?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, some people do have difficulty in defining what is a wildflower and what is a weed. What concerns me is that Mumbles seems to be full of weeds at the moment in all the verges, close to a number of shall we say, prominent points within the village. We're spending £14,000 for extra cleansing, and supposedly for the weeding, because there's no longer any use of the glyphosate. So these weeds are everywhere. Now, if you want to talk gardening, I can talk all night about gardening, but I don't intend to do that. But it's we have to be a little bit careful here. We're talking about a specific area that's going to be done. If I could just ask the question, is this project going to replace what was formerly the Mumbles in Bloom? Is that your intention?
No.
Because all the money that was put into the environmental budget 2020-2021 appears to have been wired elsewhere.
That's because you might have noticed there wasn't a Mumbles in Bloom this year.
Well, that's funny. I never noticed that. I was so busy looking at all the weeds. No, it's a serious point. The thing is that it'll be interesting to monitor the area, the curb verge, as you enter Mumbles, to see if that's going to be infested with glorious flowers or if it's going to be infested with weed.
Okay, can I suggest then, as everybody's 5 penneth worth, as it were, can we put this to the vote then?
Martin, you've got Steve.
Steve, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just 2 points of information. Firstly, the report was done by your environmental engagement officer, Madison, so I'll pass your congratulations on, Council, if that's okay. And secondly, although Mumbles Community Council has a non-use of weed killer policy, Swansea Council is still using weed killer in our area. We've not had an effect on that usage as of yet, so they are continuing to use it in our area.
Okay, thank you for those points of information. But can I again suggest that we put this to the vote? All those in favour of this resolution? Okay.
Yes, I'll vote.
There we go. That's pretty unanimous. Okay, so then if we go on to the recycling container, that the recycling container to support the innovative local recycling scheme be purchased at the
Excuse me, Chair, you've missed one out.
Have I?
Wildlife signage.
Oh, I have too, sorry. Getting too excited. Wildlife signage scheme. Please see supporting paper. I recommended that 4 36 by 30 aluminium signs be ordered at a cost of 2,120.
Yeah. This is to really, I mean, it's a follows on from what Sarah was saying about, you know, all children should know the names of the plants and things. This is exactly what this is for. This is to actually make people aware of what a huge variety of wildlife and plants we have in the area. So we'd be looking at putting some signs along the prom, telling people about all the different bird varieties that regularly use the beach and the sea along Mumbles, putting up signs explaining about the wildflowers, what the different flowers, so that people as they go along can actually look and they can identify what flowers they can see, what plants they can see, what trees they can see. So they're information boards to really give people the opportunity to learn and appreciate the variety of wildlife that we have in Mumbles.
Okay, thank you for that, Sarah.
Just to ask, we've had problems with boards before where they've stayed empty. Can we make sure it'll be Maddie in charge of putting the information in them, will she?
Yeah, they will be actually made, ready-made with, they're actually going
That's
to
fab.
be produced.
That's fab.
With the information on.
Okay, anybody else want to come in on this? Ian?
Yeah, can we make sure that these the signage doesn't require planning, because we've had a bit of trouble with things appearing on the front. Is it something that that could be objectionable to someone, that they're not going to enjoy the view that they had previously? And I'm not talking about they're not entitled to a view. It's just that you know, these are quite large, aren't they?
No, not particularly. They just run along the railings on the prom.
Okay, but I
If
suppose
you look at them.
we will have to check whether we will need any planning permission, I would have thought.
You've had
Rob?
approval from City, I assume then, have you?
These have already been discussed with City, yeah.
Rob?
You've had approval in writing then, thank you.
No, I don't think it's in writing, but unless
Oh.
Steve can clarify that.
Okay, Rob?
I was just going to say, wouldn't it be better to wait until the seawall and the prom has been done before we install these?
We did wonder about that, but obviously that's some years away. These will be signs that can be removed and reused.
Some years away.
Okay, Will Thomas?
My question was very similar to Rob's there, so that's answered that one. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, then, if we've got no further queries, can we put this to the vote, please? All those in favour of these signs? Okay.
I'm against.
Okay, sorry.
I'll abstain on that.
I'll abstain as well.
Okay.
Me.
And
Linda.
Linda as well, sorry. Okay, then we get onto this recycling container. That a recycling container to support the innovative local recycling scheme be purchased at the cost of $840 to be sited at the co-op in West Cross.
Yeah.
Anybody want to talk to this?
Just briefly say, I'm sure you're all very well aware of the phenomenal work that Ruth does in making sure that all those things that would otherwise go into landfill are actually collected and recycled. Pam's already talked about people with great bags full of crisp packets. It's all those kinds of things that Ruth collects. And she's reached the point where her entire house almost is being taken over by this. And she really, really needs somewhere where she can store it, sort it, and pack it up ready to be sent off.
Okay, Rebecca?
Thanks. I would hope that this is pretty non-contentious. It's an amazing scheme that's incredibly popular in the community, and this is a really low-cost proposal to help it grow. I suppose my only question is, in terms of its sustainability, you know, Ruth has been doing this out of her living room, but are there other ways that we can support, you know, in terms of supporting with volunteers, for example, through Maddie's engagement role? Because I imagine this will only continue to grow. You know, recycling, it's only going to be more and more types of materials.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea, yeah.
Oh, okay, Sarah? You muted again, Sarah.
Sorry, Ruth has become an honorary Womble. This woman is amazing. She keeps finding more and more stuff she can recycle and sort out, but we need to support her, we really do. As Rebecca said, her whole house is taken over with recycling and sorting out. She's at the moment raising money for Mary's Meals with stuff that was given to her, and she's recycling it, and she's raised a ridiculous amount of money already. She's a local hero. We really need to support this, but in the future date, please, we need to support her more in getting Maddie or volunteers to help with the collection, because that she spends so much time doing this, her and her husband.
Thank you. Ian?
Thank you, Chair. Are City involved in any type of project like this?
No.
Be careful.
That was a no, was it?
Yes, that's a no.
Yes, I thought you said that.
Okay.
Well, no one's questioning the attributes of Miss or Mrs. Cronin, but and she does need to be applauded, you know, especially if she's filling her house with that form of detritus. And however, not everyone is prepared to do that. Now, you're looking for a shed, I believe, isn't it, rather than a container?
You can call it what? Yes, you can call it a shed, yes.
Well, it looks like a shed.
Yes, it looks like a shed.
You know, I can hardly define it as a container. And you've had the full approval of the co-op as to its location?
We're just waiting. Yes, we've got approval by the co-op. We're just waiting for confirmation from the car park landlord as to where.
Yes. Yes, so you haven't actually got somewhere to put it
Yes, we've
at
got.
the moment.
Yes.
You have.
Well, if it can't go in the car park, then the co-op does have a space at the back that can be used, but it's more cramped and it wouldn't be
Yeah.
accessible for members of the public.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Will?
Thanks, Chair. I just, sorry, my son's talking. Can you be quiet, please? I just think we should also be pressing, Swansea Council to do more and offer more. Not just for our area, but across. We should be lobbying them as much as we can to increase the amount of things that can be recycled at the tip.
Yeah.
I think we could all do a lot more there, and we could maybe, after we've hopefully okayed this tonight, send a letter off explaining what we've done, and then ask if they could provide a similar facility in Dirnvow, which would obviously, hopefully, in time make ours obsolete. And
Sure.
she definitely needs applauding, as Ian said. And I wasn't aware that you could actually recycle some of the things, as Sarah said earlier.
Yeah.
Things that, like the bread
wrappers, yeah.
bread wrappers and things like that, and crisp packets and things. So yeah, well done to her, and I think this is very good. But I think we should also be keeping up on city and county to provide these facilities as well.
Yeah.
Okay, can I therefore recommend that we put this to the vote then? All those in favour of supporting the recycling container? All those against? Any abstentions?
I'm for. I've just lost my video for a minute.
Okay, whatever. I think we know where that one went. So okay, so if we move on to questions for Chair of the Environmental Wellbeing Committee, Pam.
We talked in the meeting after we discussed all these that Members Community Council is spearheading some fantastic projects, and with the Coffee Cup project in Members, it's just taken off and it's been absolutely brilliant. We said in the meeting that we should be putting these kind of achievements into the Evening Post and things like that. Has it gone into the Evening Post? I don't take the Post. Has it been an article? Have we offered it to the Evening Post?
We have requested it, and we requested it at JEC. But I haven't seen anything, no.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why do we have to request it at JEC? Why can't?
Well, because they're responsible for the marketing budget and liaison with SA1.
So when is the next JEC meeting?
Well, we asked at the last one.
So did they do it or not?
It's not been done so far, I don't think. No.
Why not?
Chair, I'll ask Mandy to draft something up and get something in quickly.
Okay.
Can I make another point, Chair? This is a joint venture, a joint project between different councillors, the clerks and the people who work for us. When we put it in the paper, could one councillor please not take credit for the whole project? But could it be a Members Community Council project that we're all very proud of?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good point. Rob?
Hi. It's more of a statement than a question, Carrie. You remember at the last full council meeting, we agreed in principle to light up the cliffs via the cultural recommendation. So what I've done, I've asked Paul to take Maddie off the case on this, because I think, first of all, it puts her in an awkward situation, and mainly because I know she's very passionate about her environmental stuff, which I applaud, but at the end of the day, she's not an advisor, she's an engagement officer. The recommendation has come from the Cultural Committee and been passed by full council to proceed with as long as we get the blessing from city and county. So I've asked Paul to take on this role because there would be no bias there, and I think it's important not to put our officers into an awkward position. So from now on, Paul will be dealing with City and County regarding the lighting up the cliffs.
Okay.
If I could just respond to that.
Okay.
Maddie isn't in any sort of embarrassing position. All she was doing was liaising with and reporting back comments from City and County. It's not to do with anything to do with her. So she was more than happy to do it. But anyway, that's not relevant. She has had responses back from City and County of Swansea. And they said, obviously, this would have to go through full planning and that therefore they would not be commenting outside that process. And when it goes to pre-planning, then obviously there would be environmental and ecological impact surveys. And at that point, they would be making their reports back regarding this project.
Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, Maddie's, hang on.
No,
Sorry,
you're not.
I am.
You're on.
The one time you're not muted, yeah.
Yeah, Maddie isn't there to embarrass us. She's to stop us being embarrassed. She's there to look at situations and things we want to do and go, yeah, okay, I can green light that. That's sensible and it's not going to bite us on the posterior at a later date when other people who are concerned about the environment turn up and go, how could you possibly do that? That's her job.
Okay.
Actually, her job is not that. Her job, the job at City and County are our RFO and our clerk. They are the people we employ to draw up contracts and to engage with City and County on things like this. It wasn't a question of embarrassing Maddie. It was more a question of Maddie going there, pointing out potential problems. It's up to them to find problems, not us to point out problems to them. That's why I've taken Maddie off it and I've put Paul on the case.
Just a point of clarification. Steve is in fact Maddie's line manager, and it's not for you to decide what she does. It's actually for Steve to do that.
Okay.
Actually, Carrie, Martin, I must say this briefly.
Yeah.
Carrie, the proposal came from the Cultural and Tourism Wellbeing Committee. Therefore, it is up to them to contact City and County, not for you to take it onto your own back. That's the way it works.
Okay, can we leave that one there? Sarah, can you come in on this? And then
Yeah,
I think
quickly.
we can need to move on quickly.
Sorry, but this is important. I said a while back that environmental was going to leak into everything we did because it has to. And I'm sorry, but Maddie we hired Maddie, we paid the money simply so a specialist would be there to stop us falling into bad faith, as it were, doing things which would be bad for the environment.
Well, we've taken
it's important that she is allowed to have that right to be able to say, I don't think that's right, or hold your horses until I have better information.
No, it's not. Right. It's up to the environmental people in Swansea City Council to find that out for themselves, not have it pointed out by somebody who hasn't been asked by the committee who recommended it.
Then why are we paying her?
For engagement.
I think we're going around in circles here. Steve, do you want to come in?
Chair, I'm just a bit concerned. It's getting like you're discussing an officer.
Yes, is it?
I don't think that's appropriate. So
no, this is what I mean. This is something that needs to be taken out of this public domain. So could we quickly move on that? The point has been made. I don't think there's anything we can do. So if we can...
Before we move on, I do have one announcement to make on behalf of the Environmental Wellbeing Committee, and that is that we have been awarded a Heritage Lottery Fund grant of £39,900. So we will be making a start very shortly on work on the old barn site to develop a community allotment and a nature reserve and the associated path work around it.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Neil. Fantastic.
Well done. Could we actually that warrants a bit more detail? I think, Martin. That's really good news. Could you go into a bit more detail there?
Yeah.
Can we put it in the post? Can we have
yes, this is a grant that an application that that Maddie and I put together. I as you probably know, for a long time, have been looking for something we could do with that derelict land that was constantly being vandalised and blighted down at the bottom of Castle Woods, just down by Mumbles Road. So we had a look at it. This Heritage Lottery funding came available. So if you remember, we discussed it back in the summer about the fact that we were going to apply for it. What it will do is it will enable us to actually convert it. Well, I say we won't be clearing the land. We'll be starting with an ecological survey to identify what is already there, what is worth preserving, and what are invasive species, such as there's some knotweed there, and there's various other things that can be cleared. And we will then be converting it from its current somewhat scruffy and untidy state. We'll be preparing a community allotment, which will be used by local schools, pensioner groups, mental health groups, anybody else who doesn't have access otherwise to their own outdoor space, to encourage them to grow their own fruit and vegetables, and obviously learn how to appreciate growing. And then those who are really keen from within those groups, we will be encouraging them to then apply to one of the allotment associations to be put on the waiting list. And 2 of the allotment associations already have what are called starter allotments, which are like little plots. So they would obviously, we would work towards them going on to a waiting list to be able to progress onto taking on one of these starter plots of their own. If they were really keen. So the idea is the community allotment is there as a sort of rolling program of people working with the different groups, but individuals hopefully getting enthused and moving on to doing their own. And the nature reserve is there to just provide a really nice space where there's lots of encouragement of the native and indigenous wildlife and plant species. And there'll be a water area as well where, you know, we can have a look at you know, various different creatures that would grow and flourish with a bit of water. A sort of, well, a more sort of boggy than water.
Yeah, hopefully we will be releasing some press release on this in the very near future.
Absolutely, yes. We had to wait until we couldn't actually formally announce it until we'd got the go ahead from Heritage Lottery Fund. We haven't actually got the official permission to start, but we have got the confirmation letter now, so we know exactly how much we're getting, what it's to be spent on, and the time scale is to start as soon as they give us permission to start, which should be in a few days, through till the end of November 2021.
Okay, thank you for that fantastic bit of news. So if we can move on to...
what I can do, if anybody's interested, I could put a copy of the application onto OneDrive, or ask Steve to put it onto OneDrive, so those who want to know more can have a read of it.
Okay, so if we could move on to point 14, recommendations made by the Joint Enabling Committee. Mumbles Tennis Courts and Bowls Green. Again, please see support and additional documentation for them. The recommendation is that we use consultation on Mumbles Tennis Court and Bowls Green, South End Gardens to develop our stakeholder analysis of engagement plan of a cost of £800. Anybody want to comment or come in on that?
Can I come in here?
Yeah, come on, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion in the interim period. The MCC right to the City County of Swansea of our possession and the retention of the tennis courts in Oystermouth as a valued amenity and not be used as a storage depot during the building of the sea defences, and City look for alternative sites. City need to come clean on their proposals for the tennis courts and the bowls green. Now you're asking for us to provide another consultant, but I think we ought to attach that motion to it as well. Thank you.
Okay, Rebecca?
Okay, so just to remind people of the background to this proposal, last full council we agreed that we would engage a consultant to do a consultation on the tennis courts and bowls green, a community consultation. Separate to that, there was a proposal that we engage a consultant to help us on our engagement plan, and it was felt that there was too much consultancy going around. Having spoken in Joint Enabling Committee with Alan, who would have been helping us with our engagement plan, he has said that it would be possible to use the consultation on the tennis courts and the bowls green that's already been agreed to basically as like a live case. So to help us develop our stakeholder analysis and engagement plan by sort of learning on the job, as it were, to build that in-house capacity. It reduces the cost, it kind of kills two birds with one stone, and it means that we kind of get more out of the already agreed consultation than what we'd even thought of when we agreed it back last month. So this is something that's been referred back to JEC, and a new proposal has come out of it that hopefully addresses some of the concerns that were raised last month. So hopefully I would hope that people will be in support of it now.
Okay, can I bring Gareth in, please, and then Pam?
I think the main reasoning behind this is obviously a practical exercise, plus we need to get buy-in from all our councillors. We've arranged training programs for different things, and nobody's actually, one or two are turning up but not taking part in it. But by doing it this way, we might get more engagement by the councillors and also come up with an idea of what the consultation should look like regarding the tennis courts and bowls green. I totally agree with Ian. We need to get a stance on what's happening with the square as well, because that could roll on for a year plus, maybe a year plus on the sea defence wall and the actual building that's going on there at the moment. But I think we should buy into Aline's proposal. It might give us a better idea and bring us together, and that we should be any further consultations then that we can keep it in-house, and we'll have more of an idea of what we need to do regarding any other projects that we need to look at in the future. Thank you.
Gareth, Pam?
Are you saying that at the end of this process, we will end up with a template that we can then use in project after project so we know how to engage properly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Any other comments? I would just like to comment in relation to Ian's proposal, a proposed amendment. I can very much see, and I agree with where Ian's coming from on that, but I maybe think our hand might be strengthened if we have done some of the consultation in the first place, that when we approach the city and county of Swansea and sort of say, well, this is what people in the community want. We've got some evidence for this.
Yeah.
It's not just us as a community council saying this, that we have got some support from people in the community that this is what they actually want. So that's my own.
I agree.
For Penrithworth on that. Rebecca, did you want to say something?
Just to add on that, really, we can't do a meaningful community consultation if we've already got our position agreed. I completely agree with Ian on what my position is, and I want the community council to have a strong voice in expressing that to city and county. But I do think that having agreed to do the community consultation, we have to let that run first.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah, I agree with Rebecca saying, because I was about to say that was what my understanding was. Do the consultation, we have the evidence, then we can take it forward.
Yeah, I just feel it'll strengthen our hand. Ian?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I take note of what some of the councillors are saying, but I've been approached by a number of the people in the locality in Oystermouth, and they see this as another exercise in kicking the ball into the long grass. People are looking to try and get some assurances from City as to what's going to happen with the tennis courts and the bowls green. Now, you can still have your consultation process, and in the interim, we should be writing to Swansea and getting them to come clean on the proposals for the tennis courts and the bowl screen, because if they're not going to come clean, it's pretty well pointless having a consultation report, because maybe they've got other intentions for it.
Okay, Will?
Yeah, I mean, Ian has a point, but I think, you know, it's a chicken and egg thing. So what we could maybe do is try and get City and County to commit, the cabinet members, the relevant cabinet members, to commit to a meeting to look over our consultation. You know, if we could ask Steve to email them and say, look, we're conducting this consultation. Would you meet with the council and go over our findings from the consultation? Then, you know, I'd certainly be happy with that, and I'm sure they'd agree to that, because, you know, why wouldn't they? So, you know, we'd have the consultation then, and we'd also have a commitment for them to engage with us on it.
I think that's a good point, Will. Yeah.
Can I just say something here?
Yes, certainly.
This is difficult. This consultation business is difficult. I think now is the time to ask the City and County to consult, because I think that they have been scared because they have burnt their fingers on several things, like the psychopath. Don't mention the psychopath. But anyway, I think that it's awfully difficult, because they say on the one hand, yes, we're in listening mode. We are in listening mode. On the other hand, they will say, this is going to happen because this is policy. This is a keystone policy. And so therefore, it's very, very difficult to balance. And everybody now is, they're panicking, and they're deciding on new things. Oh yes, we must have a consultation. So they are now thinking where they've gone wrong. And so they are very active in the consultation idea. So if you want consultation, they will agree to consultation. Whether they will carry on and do what they want to do is another matter. But I think they are prepared to do consultation. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Linda. And as you so rightly say, if you do a consultation and then the powers won't listen, there's not a lot we can do about that, unfortunately. Gareth?
I understand. I think the consultation that Ali's put forward really is a training program for us as councillors. It's just it's going to be a practical exercise rather than just a desktop exercise. So I don't think there's any harm in doing it. It's not going to. It'll come out with an outcome, but obviously what we need most foremost is an action plan from it that we can take forward for any other future consultations we need to do.
Okay,
and speak to do as Will said, and speak to council in the meantime with. See if the cabinet will meet with us.
Okay then, so can I move that we put it to a vote? In the first instance, do we vote on Ian's amendment? Is that correct, Steve?
Repeat it for us.
Ian, Steve, is that correct?
Yeah, you can vote on the amendments next, yes. So whichever order you think is best, probably next. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be best we vote on the amendment first, and then we vote on the consultation.
Could I just ask Ian if he'd amend the amendment, or consider amending the amendment to just that we, you know, request that the cabinet members engage with our consultation after we've done it, you know, because I think what you're worried about is, you know, getting an answer on what's happening, but they're going to say, all they're going to do is turn around and reply to us and say, well, you're having a consultation, get in touch with us after you've done it. So if we do the consultation, if we can get them to commit to a meeting, I think that's a win-win, you know. So just...
Well, can I come in, Chair, please?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There were a number of ifs there, and going on past performance, you know, one of the major problems that Mumbles has is having dialogue with the City of Swansea. And unless one has dialogue, you know, you have to have a communicator. We're prepared to communicate. We're always communicating. You have to have a receiver. The trouble is the receiver isn't listening. They're not prepared to work hand in glove with us. That's the fundamental problem. People want the retention of the tennis courts at Oystermouth. The position with Mumbles Community Council is the retention of the tennis courts. However, they're talking about using it as a storage depot. And then once that's been done, and once the court has been ruined and everything else, they've already, had one. One court is already being used as a storage depot for this hotel. These are worrying times. It doesn't seem to matter where it is. Swansea, I understand that they have the lease on the land and everything else, and they may see the land being used for a different reason. That tennis court was put there sometime back in the First World War period. And, we have a responsibility for maintaining amenities for the public. Now, if you don't like the motion, you don't like the motion. I'm not going to throw my arms in the air and end up being switched off. But, it's... I don't see how this compromises the consultation. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay,
No,
Steve.
I don't disagree with you either. I don't disagree with you either. No.
Okay, Steve.
Okay.
Chair, so when I replied to you, I think I was a little bit ahead of the thinking. I thought Will had already proposed an amendment to the motion. So I had 2 amendments to the motion. They're not mutually exclusive. So I suggest you first discuss Will's one that we asked for a high-level meeting, then you discuss Ian's one, and then you vote on the main resolution.
Okay, that's the way forward then, as far as I can see it. So, Will, should we discuss you? Can you just quickly give us a
yeah, we basically. I totally understand where Ian's coming from. Totally get it, and I would vote in favour of Ian's as well, to be fair. All I'm saying is that we ask for commitment from Cabinet members to meet on our findings of our consultation, that's all. But I think we should take Ian's first because he was first and I would vote for it.
Okay, well, it's getting me confused now. Okay, Ian.
Chair, the proposal I made, the order I'm making is simple, because that if you pass what Will's just said, that is added to the substantial motion. If you add what Ian says, that's added to the substantial motion. So you can deal with the first amendment now, Will's amendment, and then move on to Ian's.
Okay then.
Or you could have both. You could have everything.
Let's make it nice and easy. We've just had a quick recap of what Will's is.
It's Christmas up, Will.
Pam, did you want to say something?
Do we have to specify cabinet members? Because quite often it's high-ranking officers who will do this kind of discussion. If we say cabinet members, we can't get a cabinet member, we get nothing. Can we just say officers or Swansea City Council? If we specify cabinet members, we might not get anything. If we make it more general, we might get something.
Bill, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, you want to talk to the organ grinder, don't you? You know.
Yes, exactly.
Right. No, I don't agree with that.
Or you want to speak to both? There you go. Cabinet members and senior officers.
And all.
No.
Both, or we'll do it later.
Well, okay.
We're getting in a tangle now, aren't we?
I've just made the point.
You know, let's see how we can move this forward. Is it like, you know?
We're running out of time, Chair.
Yeah, this is what
Before
I mean.
Before you vote, Chair, there's a banner being put up, and I think it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I can see that as well. Yeah. Right. So, just to clarify this, the first motion is Will's motion that we have a high-level meeting with cabinet members and senior officers. Can I put that to the vote? All those in favour of that motion? Will, you're not in favour of your own motion, right? Okay.
Unlike Carrie, you voted against her motion earlier. I'm in favour of mine.
Okay. Then if we go on to Ian's motion that that we need some clarification. I don't know what you want to put it, Ian, that we need clarification as from City and County of Swansea as to what their plans are?
Well, yes, thank you, Chair. You know, that is part of it. But of course, the other thing is that we've been dealing with Langland tennis courts since 2017, and we've been round a merry dance there. And of course, we're still not completed. Now, the matter concerning Oystermouth, there is an appetite for the tennis courts to be saved by the general public.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't finished, if you don't mind. Thank you. My motion was to write to City and County of Swansea, expressing our position with the retention of the tennis courts in Oystermouth, because they're a valued as amenity and not used as a storage depot during the building of the sea defences, and City look for alternative sites.
Okay.
City need to come clean, and their proposals for the tennis courts and the bowling green. So
okay,
I see no harm in this either, Chair. You know, we can have the both, in my opinion.
Pam and Richard.
Have members Community Council taken a vote on what we want, and who's the we? Is the we the Community Council, or is we a narrow spectrum of people in members who have expressed so far what they want? We don't have the authority to make that kind of judgment if we haven't done any kind of research on it.
Honestly, I think we're just going around in circles here. We cannot define this at this period in time. Ian's
That's what the consultation is for, Chair.
Ian's motion is Ian's motion. That is what we're going to be voting on. Richard, do you want to come in? You're on
mute, Rich.
Just as well I was on mute with what I just said. Right. Going on with the banner in the background, yeah. There's a number of people I've spoken to locally, and a lot of them, not so much in favour of tennis courts, but a multi-use games area.
Yeah.
And I say, that's what the consultation's for, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, as I sort of said, I've talked to some local people locally, and they've told me they want a car park there. You know, we don't know. Different people want different things. All I'm sort of saying, can we now then vote on Ian's?
The clerk would like to come in.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Chair. As you know, obviously, a lot of you are fairly, the 2017 cohort, as those left, which is just Linda, will tell you that, and Pam will tell you that our current policy is that we've got an ongoing request to build a mugger on those courts.
Yeah.
That is our current policy.
Yeah.
It just because it hasn't been voted on recently doesn't mean that's not the current policy.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, but can we now vote on Ian's amendment? All those in favour of Ian's amendment? All those against? Steve?
I've got 2 against. Can you do a 4 again?
Can I vote for my motion?
Oh, yeah,
Of course you can, yeah.
Of course you can, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So
What are we voting for now?
Should we start again?
I know what we voted for. Are we going for or against? That's all I want to know.
This is, we have voting, are we in favour of Ian's motion
Right, okay.
for the clarification from the City and County of Swansea?
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favour, we've got 1, 2, 3,
Adam
4.
had his hand up last time. I don't know if he's coming back.
Well, he's not yet at the moment. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against? 2.
2, 3, 3.
3. Okay, so that motion is carried then.
I'm abstaining, by the way.
Sorry, I'm abstaining as well. People abstaining. So then, if we can vote on the substantive motion,
Which is?
which is the consultation on Mumbles Tennis Court and Bowls Green to develop a stakeholder analysis at the cost of £800. All those in favour?
It's a training programme.
Yeah, it's a training programme for consultation. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous, and I take that one. So, okay, we got there in the end.
10 minutes over time, Chair.
Yeah, I know. Can we suspend the standing orders? Is everybody in agreement to suspend the standing orders? We've gone 10 minutes over time. It took me 10 minutes to sort that out. Are we all in agreement? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Chair, if you could record that.
Sorry.
So, hopefully questions to Chair of the Joint Enabling Committee. Any questions to the Chair of the Joint Enabling Committee?
Move on.
Was that a question, Pam?
Yeah. No, please can you put my name down to attend the next meeting? And give me an invite.
Yeah, I'm sure that should be no problem.
Thank you.
Questions to the Chair of the Premises Committee, who isn't here?
Not yet.
No.
So we've got no questions there. Questions to the Chair of the Economic and Wellbeing Committee? Any questions?
No.
Okay then, if that's the case, I will wish you all a good night.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you all for your time. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And it's probably a
Merry
record.
Christmas,
10
everyone.
10
Merry
minutes
Christmas.
over time.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Rob playing. Well done, Rob. Very nice.
Merry
Good
Christmas,
sign-up.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Cheers.